Hello, dear authors and invited guests. Welcome to Technical Session 9A. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th International Conference on Information and Communication Technology for Competitive Strategies, in concurrent with the 6th International Conference on Smart Trends for Computing and Communications through Zoom. We appreciate all the participants on this platform to go along with us digitally in these unpredictable circumstances of COVID-19, making this conference more productive. We hope you will enjoy the session. And before we just starting the session, I would like to introduce you all to the chair for the session, Professor Sunil Kumar Jangir. Professor Jangir is a professional member of ACM and senior member of IEEE. He is currently Associate Professor Computer Science and Engineering, Mohali, Punjab, India. Sunil sir received his BE in Information Technology with honors in 2009, an MTech degree with the highest distinction, and the gold medalist in Software Engineering in 2012, and the PhD degree in Computer Science and Engineering in 2018. His main area of interest includes the design of algorithms, machine learning, computer networks, as well as routing protocols for ad hoc networks. Thank you, sir. And
thank you, Harsh.
Okay. Also, there is a special note for the presenters that you will be given 8 minutes for the presentation and 2 minutes for the 2 minutes for the question and answers. On the 7 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder for the conclusion. And I request you all, while the presentation is going on, the participants kindly be muted. Okay, so moving for our session, that our first presenter is Abhishek, and his paper title is Analytical Performance of QoS-STBC Transmission for Shadowed Gaussian Fading Channels.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Abhishek. You may please start your presentation.
Is my voice is audible too, sir?
Yes, Abhishek, perfectly audible. All the best.
Is my screen is visible to you, sir?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So good morning, good afternoon, all of you. My name is Abhishek Chaudhary, and I am a BG scholar, student of Netaji Subhash University of Technology, Delhi, East Campus, and my paper ID is 24, and my topic on presentation is Analytical Performance of QoS-STBC Transmission for Shadowed Gaussian Fading Channel, under the guidance of my professor, Dr. Aarti MK, Professor NSUT East Campus, and Dr. Aarti Jain, Assistant Professor NSUT East Campus. So here are the table of content. In this paper, we basically use the approach behind this study is to evaluate the performance of QoS-STBC for land mobile satellite link communication system, in which we further derive the SNR, and by using the SNR we can derive the moment generating function with the help of relation given in the major G function. Through this derived MGF, we further calculate the symbol error rate of the QoS-STBC based LMS system under the various shadowing condition with MPSK constellation. Shadowing condition are here are three: frequent heavy shadowing condition, infrequent, and average having shadowing condition. First, introduction. In this, the LMOT code exists for two antenna. Thus, for full rate transmission, we need more than two antenna. So, overcome the LMOT code transmission, that is OSTBC transmission, we have introduced the QoS-STBC transmission, because in this we can deploy the more than two antenna at the receiving station, at the transmitting station, because for achieving the full coded transmit diversity with the more than two antenna without the knowing of channel state information, that is CSI. And to mitigate the fading and push the capacity of wireless channel to a higher limit, we use the multiple transmitting antenna, receiving antenna. So this is system is basically on the principle and the approach towards the MIMO concept. Space-time block code. A space-time block code is basically a code in an array with a column representing the time slots and the rows representing the transmitting antenna. In this, the STBC defined the number of independent information symbol transmitted during each STBC code word, dividing by its time duration. Now the MIMO technology. MIMO technology basically purposely has been used for the continuity of the connection for the continuity of transmission from source to destination. For example, if in the communication process, if the one antenna is not working, then by using the MIMO technology, the continuation of data transferring and code transferring has not been stopped. So by using the MIMO technology, we can deploy more than antenna. If one antenna is not working, then the remaining antenna continues the process of transmitting the antenna data. In this, we use the MPSK constellation. In this, the MPSK constellation is basically a M possible waveform has been shifted version of M shifted version. In this we given there is an amplitude f cos 2 pi FCT, where FCT is a carrier frequency, and theta I, and where theta I is equal to 2 pi by M. M denotes here by the number of antennas, which is 4. For understanding the purpose, we have to first understand the diversity. Diversity is a powerful communication receiving technique that provides wireless link improvement at a low cost. In this scheme, the receiver is provided by multiple copies of same information, which is transmitted over of 2 or more communication channel. And why do we need the diversity in this research? Is basically in one path, if one path of communication goes under deep fade, then the another independent path has been strong signal that the output. For example, if there is a rainy atmosphere around us, and there is a building in between the transmission from satellite to antennas at the earth station, so at that time, with the obstruction, we can face the disturbance. So due to this, we can use the diversity. What is the SR fading? Fading is the variation of attenuation of signal with the variable includes by time, geographical position, and a radio frequency. Shading is a concept that is affecting the wave propagation because of some line of sight having error in between. If some building and some mountain or long range or a weather forecasting has been climate change, due to this, the line of sight between the antenna and transmitting antenna and the receiving antenna at the satellite has been affected. The concept is here, we can derive the signal to noise ratio for transmitting antenna that is deployed on the earth station for IID distributed SR fading channel. And the basic approach is behind study is that we can derive with the help of LMS communication system. LMS is a mobile van, which is in which the antenna has been deployed. Transmitting antenna has been deployed. What are the drawbacks in OSTBC that can be forwarded, that can be overcome with the help of QoSTBC? Is that they cannot be exceeded more than 2 transmitting antenna, because for more complex constellation without the rate loss, and the rate is less than 1. Here are the system model. In this, the satellite is deployed with a 1 receiving antenna, and there is a earth station has been deployed with 4 antenna with QoSTBC transmission. In this, we derive the MGF and the SCR of the signal to noise ratio of Q quasi-orthogonal space-time block code over the IID scheme. And in the form of this SNR, we can generalize the MGF factor with the help of major G function in the paper. Here is the flow chart, what I mathematically derive in the paper. In this, the QoSTBC matrix with symbol X1, X2, X3, and X4 are the symbol transmitted from our station, and then we receive the receiving signal Y1 and Y2, and this Y1 and Y2 has been C1 Hermitian of the component of C1, and C2 is a Hermitian of component of C2. Due to this, we can receive the SNR that is by 1/4. It is one SNR is by 1/4, with A and sigma bar, and through this we can derive the A and B factor, and by deriving this factor we can further derive, and by using IID-SR fading channel model given in my base paper, we can derive the MGF, and then with the use of MGF, that is M sigma S, we can derive the SER, symbol error rate. What is the comparison between STBC and QoSTBC? STBC is basically OSTBC. It is orthogonal in design. It is not properly orthogonal in design. Transmission matrix are not divided into groups. Here transmission matrices are divided into groups. Transmission matrices are with orthogonal columns, whereas in QoSTBC, the different groups are orthogonal to each other. For two transmitting antenna, we are using Allo-Moty scheme that is known as QoSTBC, orthogonal space-time block coding scheme. In this, the column within each group are not orthogonal to each other. The decoding single transmitted symbol decode a pair of transmitted symbol. If we decode the pair of transmitted symbol, that means the rate of communication has been increased. Using the simple ML decoding algorithm, the decoding pair of symbol is more complex than the STBC. Low transmission rate, high transmission rate, low complexity in the system, high complexity in the system because we deploy more than two antenna. What are the advantages of QoSTBC scheme? Not properly orthogonal. Transmission matrices are divided into group. Different groups are orthogonal to different each other. Decode thus the main advantage of this is decode the pair of transmitted symbol. It is a pair of transmitted symbol has been decoded. Decoding of symbol is complex than STBC, higher transmission rate. And the limitations are decode single transmitted symbol in OSTBC. What are the limitations? Low transmission rate and the capacity degradation is high as compared to QoSTBC scheme. Here are the simulation result in which average shadowing, infrequent light shadowing, and frequent heavy shadowing has been given under MPSK over SR fading channel. Here also the analytical of SER. Here is the SER of QoST based LMS communication system under different shadowing. At the conclusion, we observed that the SNR in the increased with the simultaneous decrease in SER in all shadowing condition. And moreover, the analysis shows that the performance of the system is better in ILS condition and AS condition. That is average shadowing and infrequent light shadowing and shadowing with the loss of approximately 14 dB diversity gain as compared to FHS shadowing condition. And from figure 2, we can obtain that the diversity of the QoSTBC satellite communication system is less than 4. That means this code is not a full diversity code. The performance of QoSTBC over SR fading is improved with the values of SNR, with increasing values of SNR. And from all the observation, it can be concluded that the performance of the system is better in ILS condition and worst in case of FHS condition. FHS condition are frequent heavy shadowing, which means when there is a weather has been and the climate has been drastically changed. Thank you. Any queries?
I would like to invite audience if they have any queries. Anyone?
Should I
Okay.
stop my
Abhishek.
screen?
Yes, you can. Abhishek, what is your contribution in this work?
Sir, I am basically derive the SNR, which is 1/4 of the value from the initial base paper.
Okay. Anything else? And what do you think? What is the future scope of your research?
Sir, in my research, I can work with more than 4 transmitting antenna by using constellation shifting, rotational shifting in constellation.
And one typical question everyone is asking, that how your research is going to benefit our society.
Sir, because of the if the system has been using this concept, then if one antenna has been not working, then the remaining antenna has continuous working with less power degradation and high capacity of transmission of rate.
Okay. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Up to you, Harsh.
Okay, so our next presenter is Aishwarya Chengalwala, and her paper title is Mobile Application to Digitalize Education Volunteer Process.
Good morning, everyone. Shall I start presenting my screen?
Yes, please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Thank you for the confirmation. So, a very good afternoon to everyone present in this session. I am Aishwarya, and I am from Vyasa Engineering College. My other contributors to this project are Divya, Hemant, and Sandeep, and we are guided by our professor, Dr. G. Kranti Kumar. The title of our project is Mobile Application to Digitalize Education Volunteer Process. So sharing knowledge has always been a complicated task from long ago, but with the emergence of smartphones, it has made our life a lot more easier and flexible. However, there are still many places that do not move with time, and hence people can only learn limited knowledge with limited workforce. Many educated people have come forward in improving these areas through various means, such as NGOs, student volunteers, etc. But still, there is no proper mode of communication between the school management and the people who are interested in helping them. A mobile app is one possible solution to this problem. It connects schools, students, and student volunteers, making the communication between them simpler. Many features like slot booking, nearest school location details, etc. are possible to incorporate inside the mobile app, and this can be implemented using Android Studio and Java programming language. The final result is making these educational places have efficient workforce, introducing newer ways to learn and education for everyone. So this is a problem statement, which is to design and implement a mobile application to create an interface for communication between rural schools and student volunteers in order to provide better education for students of the rural schools. Our main motivation behind this idea is the vision of providing quality education to the children of rural India. It can be achieved by using technology to connect enthusiastic people from all over the world as volunteer teachers with public primary schools in remote villages in India. It focuses on children in the age 8 to 12 age group to provide interactive classroom life in the local environment. This is our objective, which connects school and student volunteers and to introduce new ways to learn and education for all. For the purpose of our project, we have taken one school, which is MK Baig Municipal High School in Vijayawada. The stakeholders of the project will be children, the school management, and the volunteers. So this is, we have donated this app to the school management, and this is the picture with them. So the basic concepts that we have used here is Android Studio, Java, and Firebase. And the functional requirements include, for front end, we have used Java and XML, and for the back end, we have used Google's real-time database, which is Firebase. And here is our proposed system. First, a user opens the app, and if the user has not yet registered, he will register, and it will check whether the user type is a volunteer or the school management. If the user belongs to the school management, he will be directed to the admin screen where he can access all the appointments made and view all the volunteer details, which can be retrieved from the Firebase database. And if the user is a volunteer, then he can create a new appointment and view all the available details like time slots and subjects. So this is the literature survey that we have conducted. This one is from IJC SIS, titled Design and Implementation of Hospital Reservation System on Android. Waiting at a hospital can sometimes be very annoying, frustrating, and it poses a challenge in today's era of click and tap. Its goal is to decrease and remove the manual procedure associated with booking hospital appointments, as well as to balance the workload of a doctor and his or her patients. This is a platform that allows patients to schedule appointments with doctors in a certain hospital department based on the doctor's available date and time slots. The advantages of this project is it is easy to use and helps patients schedule appointments with doctors regardless of their location. The only disadvantage is it is compatible with only Android devices and mode of communication can be improved. The next one is titled Mobile Learning Application and its Usage Among Students in Education. The research is on operating mobile systems and is on trend, and it plays a crucial role in the education system and bringing up of new technologies in an institute like ERP software. They construct that students on mobile learning are effective, and it is also focused on e-learning system design. Moreover, it is reported that the most highly present articles on mobile learning system design ERP software and its effectiveness. The main advantage of mobile learning application is that it is convenient and also helps in distance learning. This is the survey conducted for real-time databases for applications. The main reason for this study is to enlighten everyone with real-time databases like Google Firebase, MongoDB, and RethinkDB along with their features. Firebase is an API for data storage developed by Google. This can be synced with your Android, iOS, or any other mobile application. What a real-time database does is that it stores the information into the database and fetches it when required very quickly. But Firebase provides authentication through GitHub, Gmail, Facebook, and Twitter, and also allows us to create custom authentication. The advantages of this are data stores in Firebase are highly safe and only authorized people have access to it. Highly reliable, so data is maintained even if connection is lost. The disadvantages are, though it supports offline operations, if a client goes offline and comes back online, it may lead to some inconsistencies. So this is the last of the literature survey that we have conducted, which is development of Android-based mobile app for PrestaShop e-commerce shopping cart. Android platform is an open framework and is allowed to use by everybody. A mobile handset manufacturer can utilize Android in the event that they take after the assertion expressed in the SDK. The objective of this project is to develop the online shopping Android app and to integrate the app with the PrestaShop e-commerce shopping cart software running on XAMPP server and connected to the MySQL database, and design the GUI of the app for different devices like phones and tablets so that the customers can easily use the app for online shopping. The advantages of this is it can be easily installed and customized, and it offers a user-friendly dashboard. But the disadvantage is that it has many limitations with its templates and compatibility issues. So here are the implementation details of our project. So when the user
Sorry to
opens
interrupt you, but we have last 1 minute.
Okay, sir, I will finish it up. When the user opens the app, he or she will be greeted with these home pages. And without logging in, the user can't access any of the other modules of the application. If invalid credentials are given, it stays back in the same page with an error message. So they have to create an account. When you create an account, you select the relevant choice, whether you are registering as a school or as a student. If you have logged in as a school, then you should be taken to your respective screen, which can be viewed here. You can view the appointments made by the student volunteers and the other related details. And if you have logged in as a student volunteer, you should be taken to your respective screen where you can select the school, give your details and select the school and the date when you wish to teach and the time slot and the topic you wish to teach. And this is how the data is stored inside Firebase real-time database. So this app function allows for editing time slots, and students can view school names for which they are applying, and students can contact school management through contact details provided. Our project provides an efficient way to connect students in schools and volunteers using recent technology. This app allows the user to view and book slots for managing and teaching respectively. Usage of this app at a large scale would benefit users, albeit a user is in a new place. This app is user-friendly and handy, so people of all age groups can use it easily. Thank you. Any queries?
Any query from audience? Okay, Aishwarya, what are you doing right now?
Sir?
Are you pursuing MTech or BTech?
BTech, sir. I'm from BTech final year, sir.
Okay. So I have to frame questions from BTech level. So first and foremost thing, you displayed us the screen diagram or output screens, you can say.
Yes, sir.
So have you studied about the UI UX?
Yes, sir. We have studied where we know the basics of how to design a layout, sir.
So what is user experience?
User experience is where we need to provide the user with a comfortable experience of so that they would be satisfied by navigating the web app or the mobile app.
So as per your understanding, how many fonts are there in the screen? And using that much of font is correct, or we can say bad practice?
We have used 3 fonts here, sir. So it is
I
not.
think here 4 font you have used.
Okay. Yes, sir. 4 fonts we have used. It is not good, but we had very limited time to implement this prototype. So we had to make it look a little attractive. So we need to make a lot of changes too, sir.
Okay. Second thing, I think you have shown us 4 papers. Instead of paper, can you please tell us few apps name, those who are doing similar kind of work?
So the thing is that in our area, we don't have any such mobile application like this.
I'm
sir.
not asking about your area, because if you are saying it's digital world, it means everything is yours.
Yes,
My
sir.
question is, have you surfed the so many apps out there in market? Because you have to compare your app with that particular apps.
Yes,
And
sir.
the paper which you have studied, are they UGC CAT journal or Scopus or SCI?
They belong to Scopus, sir.
I don't think so.
No, sir.
Rest you did well, but please careful about these things.
Okay,
You
sir.
have to work upon user stories, user experience, then the paper you are taking. If you have compared any app, so that comparison should be there. Last but not least, you have used so many technical jargon, like you have told us about GitHub, but in this presentation there is no your Git URL from where we can go and see your code. Second thing, you use technical stack name, but you haven't used any particular thing that you did this. So please be careful while presenting this type of application in international conference. And just because if you are saying anyone, you have presented your paper in 6th international conference, it means it value a lot. But what you presented, you have to work upon. Sorry
Yes,
if
sir.
I hurted your feelings.
No, sir, it's okay, sir. We
Wish
will
you all
make
the
sure
best. Do
Yes, sir.
improve in your work, and my best wishes with you.
Thank you so much, sir.
And you can reach out me anytime for any of the suggestion, because so
Thank
many students are working in these type of application. All the
Yes.
best.
Thank you, sir.
Harsh,
Yes,
up to
sir.
you.
So move forward. Our next presenter is Faraz Doza, and his paper title is A Comprehensive Framework for the IoT-based Smart Home Automation Using Blink.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please
Okay,
start
so
your presentation.
yes, I'll just share my screen. Okay, I hope I'm visible. My screen is visible.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
So the topic is a comprehensive framework for IoT-based smart home automation using Blink. And we are a group of researchers who felt very strongly about this topic, and we all decided to collaborate and develop a prototype, which is not only easy to develop, it's affordable, but it's also, in our opinion, very useful. So a little bit of abstract about what our topic is. So Internet of Things, that is a technology where we have many devices which are interconnected using the internet. And there's a lot of data which each of these devices are generating. And all of this data can be used to control these devices and make intelligent decisions. So something that we all want to do is work smart. And that is what we want from our technology and devices as well. So the phones that we have, they are known as smartphones. And now there is a lot of emphasis on smart devices. So if our house contains smart devices, we can refer to it as a smart home. So we can control, let's say, the temperature of the geysers in the morning. During winters, when we get up, it can be programmed to switch on at a particular time. So this saves effort, it makes our life more convenient, and it also saves energy and money, and it gives a very good user experience. And the thing is, we have internet available all around us. So the whole idea of this prototype is just to use that available internet and the devices and to make it more intelligent. And in this paper, we have offered a framework for remote administration and monitoring of IoT-enabled appliances. So a little bit of an introduction about what we have done. So we have tried to simulate a smart home. So smart home technology, they enable homeowners to control smart appliances, either using a smartphone or your tablet or your computer, and resulting in increased security and comfort and energy savings. Home automation offers homeowners with a peace of mind by allowing them to keep an eye on their homes from afar. Using IoT-based home automation, grass will only be watered when it is required by a smart irrigation system and with just the precise quantity of water required. Home automation provides efficient use of energy, water, and conservation of both money and natural resources in this example. All of the gadgets are under the customer's control by a master home automation controller, the Smart Home Hub. A smart home hub is a physical device which connects to the internet and serves as the brain. So that is where all the decisions are happening, all of the computations are happening, and that is what we are using its power to control the different devices. And all of the smart home apps are connected and can be used from anywhere. So this is an image of what we have created. So basically, you have your phone, which acts as the main controller. You have the different lights, which could be a simulation of switching on and off the light, and in our case, has been used as an alert as well. And you have the main brain in the center, which is the microcontroller, and then you have different sensors located inside this box. You have soil, which is watered using the water in the water tank. So this is the circuit diagram for it. So we have used Node MCU, which is a microcontroller that we have used. And we have the DHT11 sensor, which is basically our temperature and humidity sensor. And the whole diagram, basically the circuit diagram, displays all the different components that are there that happen behind the scene, which helps to simulate this prototype successfully. So what are the different components? I already mentioned the Node MCU and the DHT11 sensor. We also have an HCSR4 sensor, which is an ultrasonic sensor. Basically, what it does is helps to measure the difference, the height in centimeters of the tank, which holds the water. And thus, we are able to determine how much water is left in the tank. Finally, we have the Blink app. So that is freely available software, which can be downloaded on either Android or iOS devices, in our case, an Android device. And it basically gives the platform for easily dragging and dropping, creating a user interface, which can control all of these different devices. So what is the working of our project? So there are two different modes which are available. One is the manual mode, the other one is an automatic mode. So what happens in the automatic mode? Basically, let's imagine a scenario that you have water, you have plants to water in your home and you are going outside. So in that scenario, this system will be automatically watering the plants, considering the humidity, considering the temperature, considering the amount of water in the soil. So that is this automatic mode which is available. The other mode which is also available in the system is the manual mode. So what we can do is, let's say we see the temperature has dipped sharply, then we don't have to water the plants that much, and we can make this decision on the fly remotely. All that is needed is just the device and the system to be connected to the internet. And let's say in a scenario where there is less amount of water that is left, so the lights can flash and an alert can be sent to the user. So this is the app that is available on the smartphone. So there are these two screens which are available. On the left-hand side, we have the temperature and humidity history, and also we have the light on and off switch. So we have this information available to make a conscious or decision of when to water the soil. So on the right-hand side, we have the other screen, which is basically the amount of water that is left in the tank and the soil moisture level. And we have a motor that we can switch on and off, which basically waters the soil. So all of this together, all of this data can be consumed and a conscious effort can be created to water the plants. So what are the benefits over traditional system? Quite obvious that if we are away, we are not at home, we cannot water the soil. And also it's a bit of a chore every time going up and watering something, or that is an example of what else can be automated. And all of the members of the family can use this particular system. And we have not only the ability to water the soil, but we have real-time and historic data of humidity and temperature. And the other thing, which is a very big advantage, that this system can work remotely as well. So let's say you're away from home and you want to water the plants. So that is an option which is easily available. So what is the conclusion of this research that was carried out? That is, you have a lot of challenges which are available today. Our life is very busy. We don't have a lot of things. So we can assign all of this work, which is tedious, and it is not something that someone would want to do, to automated systems. And it basically avoids a lot of power extra usage, which could happen. Let's say if you switch on the motor and you don't switch it off as soon as the plants or the soil or the grass is watered to a particular level. So you spend extra electricity and extra resources. So all of these things you're able to avoid. And this framework can be used to monitor and manage devices from far away. And this allows for automated execution, which is the main USP. And the home automation solution, it has several benefits over wired solutions. One is usability, and you don't have many messy cables around which is connecting to a certain input or a certain control hub. And you have this mobility that has been talked about, that you can control this device, this prototype, from far away. One thing that we would like to work on is, this is a prototype, we understand. It is basically to show a concept that something as simple as watering plants could be tedious, and it could be something which could be made more efficient. It is something which could save energy, something which could save money, but this has to be done on a very large scale. And that is something that we hope to do in the future. So thank you. That's my presentation. And I have a few references that has been mentioned.
Faraz, my same question. What are you doing
I'm an assistant professor, sir,
in Jamia?
in Jamia Hamdard.
Okay. So I think you have shown so many of student project on the same type.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't get you.
I'm saying,
Yes.
while assessing the major project of our student, you have seen so many projects of similar kind.
Sir, I have recently joined the teaching profession. So usually what I go for is, I'm a computer engineer. So that is the kind of projects that I go for. So this is something which came off very personal to me. I had a friend. So it comes from a very personal experience. I had a friend He told me to water the plants, but obviously he lived a little far away. I couldn't go every day to water his plants. So there was a little bit of friction there. So I realized, no, I have to do something about this. So that is
Because
where
in
this
my last
concept or this
university,
idea came.
students, no, because in my last university, students from third year, they have
Yes, sir.
developed similar kind of project.
That's very nice of them, sir.
So
But
if we are
again, the same
assistant
problem
professor,
could be faced by different people.
no, I'm
And
not
this comes
asking
from
the
a very
problem.
personal
Raz,
experience.
please listen to me.
Yes, sir.
If I'm saying that we have to work upon the great thing, it doesn't mean that we are not able to do this kind of project. We can do this kind of project.
Yes,
But
sir.
here, what I'm looking for, that if I type smart home IoT in Google
Yes, sir.
Scholar, we can say. So I
Yes,
got
sir.
so many papers. So my
Yes.
single question is how our research or work is different from them.
Yes, sir. So basically, idea was everything that is available in the electronics lab. So I have used that. The main thing that, in my opinion, is different is the cost that has been spent. It's very limited for me. It's nothing. But even if I develop the system from buying things also, it's not going to cost more than a few thousand rupees, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that all?
Yes. Harsh.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, so moving forward for our next presenter is Spurti S. Bhatt, and her paper title is Online Learning App.
Yeah. Am I audible? Okay, let me
Yes,
just
you are.
present this. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I hope the screen is visible. So good evening, everyone. My name is Spurti Bhatt. I'm a third year computer engineering student at VIT Pune. So I'm going to present my paper, that is online learning app. The authors are myself and my guide, Mr. Milind Kulkarni. So yeah, these are the contents that I'll be talking about. So let's just straight get into it. So due to the increasing number of people having internet connectivity nowadays, and as well as due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, getting education in a traditional way in a classroom is not possible. And people have started realizing the importance of having online education as well. So I have decided to like develop this online learning app using the Java language, that is native Java, on the platform Android Studio, so that students can gain knowledge, especially about the different coding concepts, data structures, and algorithms overall about computers. And the backend for this project is Firebase real-time database, where all the assets required by the app is being stored. So, when conducting this literature review, I came across different interesting facts about online learning, about the students' opinion on online learning. So, here I found very interesting one is that the quality of the content, and if the students are not happy with the quality of content, many of them don't opt for online learning. And due to this online lectures, many of the teachers are teaching on Google Meet and Zoom, which are not just the devoted online learning platforms. And for this, of course, students needed computers or at least a very good internet access. So seeing these problems, I decided to go to develop a mobile app, since most of the students do have mobile phones at their home, and the cost of the internet access is also comparatively cheaper than having a Wi-Fi router. So yeah, here is a quick overview of the app screen. So the app is basically divided into three major parts. First is the home screen. So here basically there is a topic screen. So since I said it's basically focused on computers, so the different data structure topics are displayed on the main home screen. So a user can click on any one of those. Let's say for example, linked list. So when the user clicks on the linked list, it opens all the subtopics under that main topic, like circular linked list or singly linked list. And after that, the user can choose if he wants to learn on any particular subtopic. So it will open up a website, which I have like conducted survey among my classmates, like the popular and the good ones. And the user can easily read the information about that topic from that particular website. So the user doesn't have to spend time Google searching about any particular topic and reading 2 to 3 websites to find out like which website gives him better information regarding that particular topic. Again, for the profile screen, if the user has registered for the quiz, then he will have a profile screen with his user details. Again, in the navigation drawer, we have 3 main screens. The leaderboard screen will display the top users who have played the quiz and have scored top scores. Then in the ebook screen, again, the titles of the famous programming books are given, and the user can just click on it and either download it or view it within the app itself. So there is no need of any PDF reader. And finally, about the about screen, it just displays the main aim of this app and the developer contact details. The coding screen is about how the user can practice coding questions or the interview related questions. So here the topics are given, again somewhat similar to the home screen, but on clicking of those, different questions are displayed. And after practicing those questions, the user can check the solutions as well within the same screen. Then finally, for the quiz screen, the user needs to be registered. So we have the registration and the login screen. And finally, we have the score screen, which will display the score of the user after he or she has played the app. So here is a quick app preview of the 3 main screens. So as you can observe that even in the quiz screen, the share option is given. So this share option will basically open up the different sharing apps where the user can either send it to his teacher or classmates who can help him or her solve the different program related questions. The methodology followed is quite simple. First of all, I have designed all the screens required and what all is to be considered when the user has to navigate through the app. Then the coding is done on the Android Studio platform using just the native Java. So it is just compatible with Android operating system. The database used is Firebase, since it provides very easier connectivity with Android. And I have uploaded all the assets, so the ebooks and the images required and the questions for the quiz, etc. And then the connection of the app has been provided to the database. And finally, I have distributed the APK among different users to test the app and to take their opinion on it. Also, there are many features which I hope to include. So the app has currently just the particular features which are just to a single user. So I want to include the chat feature and a discussion forum where the programming enthusiasts can exchange ideas. And there is no live coding environment within the app itself. So I want to integrate it so that the users don't need to use some other online IDE. They can practice the coding questions within the app itself and live quizzes as well. So to conclude, this app is actually free of cost, and even all the material under it is also free of cost. So the users can use it at the benefit of ease of learning and convenience of having education at home. And this is a tool for learners, especially to gain knowledge about programming or coding, and even to evaluate themselves by taking the quiz. These are just some of the references, and thank you. I'm open to questions.
Same question. How many apps you have visited?
So, sir, actually, there are no such apps which basically compile the website resources. So we do have Coursera and Udemy, which provide courses on those particular topics. But there is no such, you can call it like bookmarking kind of app where we can bookmark all these websites within a particular, um, under a single roof.
So are you BTech student or MTech?
BTech, sir, third year.
Okay. I think you have shown us the app screens.
Yes, sir.
And before this?
Yeah, the
Yes,
diagram.
previous slide. So is it the correct way to show app screens? Have you heard about wireframes?
No, sir.
Studied about color theory?
No, sir.
So what are the first phases of development of any app and any software project? You are in fourth year, I think. Final year or
Third year,
pre-final
sir.
year? Pre-final year.
Pre-final year. Yeah.
And from CS background.
Yes, sir. Sir, if you ask about what are the requirements, so first of all, we need to first design like how the screens should look like and what all are the different types of screens. And after that, I think we should think about the user navigation experience, like how easy it is for the user to move throughout the app. And then again, as you mentioned about the color scheme, I think we need to consider that as well.
That's why I have asked about wireframes. So is
Yes,
this
sir,
code
I
is deployed
strongly
or not?
agree. No, sir. So I'm currently working on the future scope part, as I mentioned. I'm trying to integrate the live coding environment. Once it is done, then I'll deploy it.
Okay. So on which kind of, we can say, model you are using to develop this software?
Uh,
Have you studied about
model,
models?
no, sir.
SDLC?
Um, no, we are having it in the next semester, so haven't studied it yet.
Have you studied about Agile?
I've heard about it. Like we need to take the review at each and every step of developing the app from the
Okay.
client side and improve it.
Okay, all the best. Thank you. Harsh?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Because moving forward, our next presenter is Jeevan J. Jacob, and his paper title is An Efficient Underwater Image Restoration Model for Digital Image Processing.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, just share my screen. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Jeevan J. Jacob, and I'll be presenting on the topic an efficient underwater image restoration model for digital image processing. This is my final year research paper. Currently, I've completed my college and working under Capgemini. So these are the contents for the presentation. Let's just dive right into it. So digital image processing is widely used across the world. All the media is digital, all the information is digital. We try to distribute, analyze images, even checks which are done for humans in our websites are done through images. So images are a huge part of human world right now, and underwater image has always been trouble based on how you get the images, because first of all, the medium is uh, a disturbance, because water will allow the lights and the wavelengths to be distributed across while taking an image. So it's very hard to take an image underwater, and there are a lot of researches which are done underwater based on old ruins, lives are found underwater, marine biology, and even surfaces, uh, faults on the surfaces underwater. So underwater image is really important for these researchers, and we need to have a proper restoration system to have clear images so that we understand what we are diving into. So there have been many researches and researches and methods to filter out physical image distortions. But since underwater images have a different problem based on medium and color diffusion based on attenuation of different wavelengths, we need new methods. So that's what I have focused on in my research paper. So my objective was simple. I need to find a better dehazing technique, which I have called as improved bright channel. And I have few sub objectives which I'll be following throughout my paper so that I get a final better dehazed image as the target observation. These I have done a literature survey of around 25 30 research papers. They all follow different methodologies, and I have listed out their advantages and shortcomings. Just for brief, most of them use dark channel prior or a bright channel prior, which was recently introduced in 2019 by one of the research papers. Those are
Sorry to interrupt you, but your slide is not changed then. Your first slide is showing us.
Is it still on the first slide?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm not sure. I was changing the slide. Or maybe I should reshare my
No
screen.
issue. Jeevan, you can just move to your contribution.
Okay, yeah, sure.
What is your contribution in this research paper?
I formulated a code for the process.
First, you have to move that particular slide where you have mentioned your
Yes,
contribution, because I am seeing 4 to 5 slides for research literature survey.
There's a lot of slides actually. Yeah. This is the talk on existing. Should I leave this?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Proposed methodology. As I
Yes.
said, improved bright channel prior, BCP in short. This is the basic code that I've used for my channel. So basically we extract certain information from the image and then we use it later on to improve the image and filter out the noise that we're getting. So this is the basic code that I've used for it. And this is the design flow. So basically I've taken the original image, I dehaze it, and I collect transmittance, which is basically to help me find the foreground of the image. And I have a separate calculation for atmospheric light so that I can remove the noise which is generated in the image, and I get a final dehazed image from that. That's how the basic proposed system is. And later on, I use the same foreground estimation that I've done previously in this chart. And I use the transmittance, that's the rough outline of the image, to find the refined image and make it better compared to the dehazed image. I'll show you the implementations. So this is the test image that I've taken. And these are the existing results from the models of existing methodologies. This is a dark channel image where the outline of the object is shown using dark patches. The problem here is, since the background is also considered in dark, it's very hard to figure out the proper outline, even though the results are good, but it's very hard to figure out proper detail in that picture. This is a bright channel, which is also an existing model. Here, it's completely inverted compared to dark channel, as the name suggests. And this is my proposition, where the background is shown with dark pixels and the object which is closer to the camera is shown with white patches, showing white boundary as in where the object is. Even on the intensity scale, if you notice, the dark channel prior will usually focus on the dark pixels, and a lot of information from the bright side is lost. In the bright channel as well, majority concentration of the pixels is found on the bright side, and a lot of dark pixel information is lost from the image. In my proposed channel, I have tried to preserve as much as I can in the limited range. I have some loss on the extreme bright and extreme dark sides, but most of the information is preserved in my proposed logic. Another analysis based on time, I have slightly improved the time needed for dehazing one underwater image. Um, and if you see the final image as well, this was the original image from the previous slide, and this was the result from a dark channel prior. There's still haziness observed. If you notice carefully, there's still haziness observed in the water surfaces and the objects around in this boundary. Even for bright channel prior, it's not that great, still haziness is observed. But in my channel, a lot of haziness is cleared out and a clear image is formed for the image that we are trying to dehaze. That's basically the conclusion for the model that I've tried to prepare. The benefits that I found in my model were basically a better foreground estimation to find the object of focus in the image. I have preserved a wider range of pixels, which is important for the information to be preserved in the image. And I have slightly improved the computational time as well in my model. For my future work, I was thinking since for a single underwater image, 14 minutes, it's still a lot of time for a single underwater image. And if we have a bunch of images to be dehazed, it will take a lot of time. So I further want to improve the algorithm in such a manner that the time is reduced in a better way while giving me a better output. Also, these enhancement techniques that I've used internally are patch based on a small pixel area. If we use those instead of using them everywhere throughout the picture, if we use only in the areas where the object is populating, it would be quicker and we'll get the information that we need faster rather than wasting the algorithm on the entire image. And that's it. That's pretty much from my side. That's rest all other references for the papers that I've taken. I'm open to
Jeevan.
questions. Yes.
First of all, please convey my gratitude towards your mentor because you are working in Capgemini and presenting paper. I think it's their motivation just because you are here to present paper, I think. Because we have so many students, they worked a lot till 4th year or we can say final year.
Yeah.
But whenever they got the offer letter, they forget to research. So please convey my gratitude towards your mentors.
Yes, sir, I will do that.
In which tool you have worked?
So I've used MATLAB. I've seen the requirements page I was mentioned. I've used MATLAB here because I didn't find any other easier environment.
So if I'm saying we can do this work with current library which is available in Python, how it sounds?
It is possible. I haven't done that part. It is also possible in Python as well. I'll need to look into the libraries. I'm not sure about the libraries as such. But it will still, I mean, based on my model, it will still take a lot of time just for a single image, as I've shown here, took around 14 minutes for one image. So, I mean, it would be better to improve the algorithm first with my channel and then probably go in Python or any other comfortable language.
Okay, Jeevan, all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Harsh.
Okay, moving forward for our next presenter is Manish Mudhani, and his paper title is Molecular Dynamic Simulation Accelerator on Elastic Multi GPU Architecture built with FP64 TF32 latest streaming multiprocessor Ampere architecture.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. Is it? I hope my screens are visible and I am audible.
Perfectly, sir.
Okay, hi. So thank you and good afternoon. Thanks for the committee for giving me chance to share my work here. Today I'm going to talk about molecular dynamics simulations on supercomputers, and rather with supercomputer we are nowadays talking about accelerated supercomputer. So we have supercomputers where many cores work together. Just since the students are here, I'm defining a little bit from scratch. So supercomputer is nothing but like we go on mobile or laptop, we talk about dual core, quad core, right? So similarly, supercomputer is nothing but there millions of cores work together for the given application, right? That is called as high performance computing system, and which is the fastest one at this moment. Every 6 months the changes. That is called the supercomputer. Now with that, now not only cores, there are accelerated supercomputer where with cores we have we say co-processor. We talk core as a processor which does the processing. We have co-processor which does the given task very efficiently and effectively. So core is they work with the core. Co-processor always work with the core. Main processor, I would say. So main processor does all the kind of stuff like in any given application we have IO, then we have some logic, then we do main number crunching or say some loops, for loops, do loops, whatever application we talk about, and then in that end again some IO and so on. So main that number crunching part, which could be massively parallel and that could be parallelized, that is offloaded to the co-processor, which they do fast, and rest of the branching and other stuff done by processor. That's a overview how the modern accelerated supercomputing works. And recently the big system is installed at CDEC Pune. That is number 63, Param Siddhi AI, number 62 or 63 in all over the global ranking. That is the fastest system. And on that system, we try to simulate the molecular dynamics simulations, and those results I am going to share here today. So first of all, molecular dynamics, that is a very known area, very common area. It is being used across various departments, I would say in colleges or various streams. One example would be this: in the pandemic, we got the vaccination very early. Generally, it takes 10 years, but we could get in 1 year. There, these molecular dynamics simulation and their quicker execution, faster execution, that enable those vaccinations or to come faster to the market, right? So it's a very big, very demanding domain. In that molecular dynamics, there are many codes. Today, I'm going to discuss about GROMACS. GROMACS is one of the very popular HPC applications globally. It is being used for biological stuff like protein simulations and all, as well as for polymer side also it is being used. And it is based on say Newtonian equation. So the model is derived from there, and there are forces in the equations which are being computed by these simulations, right? The bottom side, I have written the full form of GROMACS, but it is very much well known with the name of GROMACS, right? So in one simulation, what it does is it takes the forces, bonded force, non-bonded, then we talk it as a PME. There are 3 forces which takes the significant time in the simulations, and rest of the other things has to be done, right? Pairing and integration and so on. Now, these forces, they take the more time on the for the simulation. So definition is given here. I am not going in detail, but PME is very critical force that impacts their simulation and accuracy. And to make it effective, generally the Fourier transform is being used to calculate the PME. But there is a limitation of Fourier transform that when it goes on high performance computing system, it has the broadcasting from one to all, and that communication between the processor for this to solve this PME is becoming bottleneck, right? So what we will do in this talk is we are analyzing the performance of GROMACS on Param Siddhi 1 node as well as we go on 5 node. Commonly 1 node results are still new, they could be fine, but multi-node results are not available, how the scalability goes. And as I said, PME is critical, so their multi-node scalability is not that good, there is a bottleneck there. And now with as an NVIDIA guys, we are coming up with the new release of GROMACS, which already we submitted to the developer, they are evaluating it, where we are trying to remove this bottleneck, and we will have more better scalability, right? But let's concentrate what we have now. The Param Siddhi configuration, what is installed at CDEC Pune, it has AMD CPU, which is the EPYC latest CPU, which has 128 cores. It has memory 1 terabyte. It has accelerators, which is NVIDIA's latest GPU, A100 GPU, and 8 A100 GPUs are connected with one node, one CPU node, right? And each A100 GPU has 40 GB of memory, and total storage is around 1.8 TB and so on. So that's okay. For this simulation, we are using the standard example STMV, and it has around 1 million atoms. So we will show the simulation for that. This study we conducted, and with my colleagues or my co-author of this paper, rest all the team are from CDEC, I am from NVIDIA. And we conducted this study to figure out the best combination of MPI, OpenMP threads, the number of GPUs, and which impacts more the performance. We analyze the performance, single node CPU performance, if only CPU works. If the code enable on GPU, then what will be the single node performance, how the comparison looks like, and then multi-node CPU performance and multi-node GPU performance. This is the way we are analyzing the performance. There are many studies gone. Today I am showing here only few results here in view of the limitation of time and so on. So first thing is, when we have PME on CPU, this is a single node result. When we have PME on CPU, what is the performance? So performance we measured in terms of nanosecond per day, which is higher the better. Now we can say, and we've tried to figure out the various combination of number of MPI tasks, OpenMP threads on a given CPU. As we saw, that total is 128 cores. So we can use few MPI tasks and rest OpenMP threads to span the job. I'm not going in detail with MPI, OpenMP technically what they are. But now with various combination, if we see the best one for CPU is giving around 15.4 nanosecond per day, that is the performance. Whereas if we see for GPU, the best performance comes around 109 nanosecond per day. So that's the difference. The accelerators are bringing the simulations which were not possible on CPU. Now with the GPU, we could have those simulations and we could achieve those results which were not possible only on CPU, right? Now
Sorry for inconvenience, but you have last 1 minute.
Sure. I am sharing the results now, CPU versus GPU. So I'm not going with detail, but if we run with the CPU only one node, the best performance come around 6 nanosecond per day, whereas on GPU it goes around 109 nanosecond per day, around 18x speed up due to GPU on the same node, right? Similarly, if we go on multi-node, I'm going a little faster. We see the scalability of multi-node on CPU side, it is scales from around 1 node to 2 node, and then we reach around 6 nanosecond per day on 5 node. Whereas on GPU also it decreased from 108 to it came down to 25 on 2 nodes, because that PME is the bottleneck. When we go on multi-node, there is a communication is a challenge, but still we get around 36, 35 nanosecond per day for 5 nodes. Whereas we get on CPU only 6 nanosecond per day. So it's still around 7 times faster, right? And the last result slide to summarize, even if we go on multiple nodes, we get with accelerated computers, we get significant speed up on multi nodes, right? Each node, what will be the CPU performance versus GPU performance? This is being shown here. So in summary, GROMAC's scalability is analyzed on Paramsiddhi AI system. We figured out the bottleneck, and then same thing was conveyed to the developer, and we worked on the algorithm. Right now we can't reveal, but that bottleneck has been overcome. We analyzed the performance on single node as well as on multi-node up to 5 nodes. We compared CPU only runs and GPU on enabled runs. It is demonstrated that PME, bonded and non-bonded forces, those are being calculated on GPU, and that is giving the significant performance gain for GPU runs, right? And that is the key here. So with that, I would like to conclude. Thanks a lot. And thanks to my co-authors from CDEC to work with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I have no question for you.
Okay. So moving forward for our next presentation is Sachin Patel, and his paper title is Rainfall Database Time Series Forecasting Using Rolling Forecasting Model for Indian Geographic Area.
Thank you, sir. Please give me rights to share my screen.
As you have the rights, please share the screen and start your presentation.
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you so much, sir. Please confirm my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good evening, one and all present over here. I, Dr. Sachin Patel, presenting research paper presentation on the topic Rainfall Database Time Series Forecasting using Rolling Forecasting Model for Indian Geographic Area. Sir, wait a minute, please. These are the outline of my presentation, that is introduction, literature review, research objective, research methodology, expected outcomes, conclusion and future work, and last one is references. Introduction. Here we have seen that our country observing adverse effect of climate change, and due to climate change, we facing lots of problems. Mainly it's affect our crops, and according to report, average temperature of India has risen 0.7 centigrade during 30 years period. Every 30 period, every year it increases, and monsoon rainfall from June to September month in India has gone by 6% from 1951 to 2015. So a study gives produce this report monsoon rainfall on this period from June to September, it's gone 6%. And Indian economy heavily depend upon agriculture, and increasing in temperature, irregular rainfall affect crop yield badly. So that's why a change in rainfall pattern will impact in two severe forms. One is drought and another one is flood. Global warming is affecting the whole world, and average temperature of surface, air and ocean is increases. Glaciers are melting. So these are the overall effect of rainfall. My study overall concern about the various effect of rainfall, and I am give the predictive value of rainfall on the basis of various parameters that will I discuss laterly. These are the literature review here. Literature review, we have study about rainfall prediction done various machine learning algorithms, various machine learning techniques, and also we are using the various algorithms that in for this algorithm or this technique, we provide the availability of data set and nature of prediction. It can predict short term or long term, depends. And regression based forecasting give prediction, while approaches there are various approaches of machine learning techniques is that is decision tree, Cannon, and support vector machine provide the classification. And accurate prediction require more feature out to these particular things. Machine learning arises as one of the promising technology. We are choosing machine learning because it gives a accurate result at any aspect. Here we got the accurate result for the rainfall prediction. And in machine learning, we also we use a regression model on the historical rainfall data. And various algorithm we study here, that is boosted descent tree regression, Bayesian linear regression, descent forest regression, and neural network regression to predict rainfall. Due to time limit, I want to go faster. So here I have accurate rainfall prediction model here. Design and develop an accurate rainfall model, and computer scientists and engineers have been developing accurate model for rainfall prediction. Two more author along with me, but today they are busy in their meeting, so I single alone to present these all things. Research our research objective is mainly it affect the Indian crops, and 80% of household depend on the agriculture industry. These agriculture industry are majorly affected by unusual rainfall, and lot of crops are going lost due to unwanted rainfall. So that's why need of this type of model, that is forecast the time-based rainfall data for Indian geographical area. And in this paper, we use rainfall based time series data for Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Only two states we apply our rainfall model, only two states, है for forecasting rainfall data. So here we implement a role forecasting model based. It is based on supervised machine learning model with the assumption that rainfall data broadly affected by geographical attitude. Here we also seen some attribute, that is what are the distance distance from the sea and height of the location from the sea. And a result we found at the end, we found the result 12% amount of rainfall data is affected by geographical location, and we achieve RMSE of 134.65 millimeter for Madhya Pradesh, and 173.43 millimeter for the Rajasthan state. Root mean square error hai. That is RMSE is the root mean square error. So here in our discussion, we first collect the data. Rainfall data was collected from the official website, that is the Indian government.
Dr.
Yes,
Saab,
sir.
please, sorry for interrupting. Can you please switch on that particular slide which tells us that your contribution, what you did,
Yeah.
your result?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, fine. In our contribution, we divide all these completed
These are the
things.
common process. No need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
discuss this.
Oh, okay, sure, sir.
Just which model you have used and
Okay.
how your results are better from the people, those who have worked on this similar kind of project.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir. So here we are using role forecasting model, and our model here all step divided into 4 tasks. Number 1 is data collection and missing value imputation. Second thing, a train detection for time series data. Third one is training of forecasting model, and fourth one is testing with cross validation data sets. So number 1 is data collection and missing value imputation. Here we have the experiment with the real data set collected from
Again, my request is please move towards the results.
Okay, fine, sir. Okay, sir. Yes. So first step, we count the NN values, not a number, that is a not a number, and replace this value to our random values. And second thing, we we direct some trends on our Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. That is a trend comparison of rainfall data from Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. And next one is training and testing of forecasting model. First one, 50% data trained, and another 50% data we are using for testing this one. So here we use walk forward values will work as a follow. 50% of data set used for training of the model and 50% data iterate for testing of the model. And here we use Python, Jupyter with Pandas, NumPy. There are various implemented this model with these technologies, and finally got the this difference. And these are the result we obtained from our root mean square errors. That is, expected value is the predicted value is this, and expected value is this. So we differentiate from expected to predicted and square it. So we find out root mean square errors for both of these states, and finally we got the result. Now our result is some error is also there, but we are trying to remove it from this particular data set. So in this, we implemented rolling forecasting based supervised machine learning model. We predict, sir, here we predict from present value to future value on the basis of some data sets, and apply these data set to our, these are the 4 steps one by one. And on the basis, we trying to predict the accurate value much more. Not exact, but sir, approx the value of actual value. So these are our contribution. And finally, these are the references. Thank you.
Have you compared your readings with the another models?
Sir, yes, sir. We study some machine learning. As I said, we also study some machine learning techniques and
Dr. Saab,
algorithms.
with all respect,
Yes,
my
sir.
question is, have you compared the model with the presently, we can say, the people, those who are working on ARIMA, LSTM, but have you compared your value with these model?
Sir, presently we didn't have compare any result of this comparison, but in future we will try to compare it another models and
If
try
you
to
permit me,
improve.
shall I ask you basic question?
Yes, sir. It's up to you, sir. Please.
What is gradient descent?
Sir, gradient descent is mathematical term we are calculated for the value, sir. At present,
I'm not getting your answer.
sir, gradient descent apply, but I don't know the what are the actual formula for this. But gradient like just a regression model. Regression model.
Okay, what is the basic difference between RNN and CNN?
What is the basic difference between
RNN and
yes, sir?
CNN?
Sir, I'm little bit confused in this at present.
Okay, why
RNN.
we moved from RNN to LSTM?
RNN to LSTM. No, sir. Actually, what I have here, I only use regression models for this, and also some parameters on the basis of some parameter compare or perform all these things, sir. But
okay, Dr. Saab, thank you so much. Say
yes,
my
sir.
hello to Dr. VK Jain. I think he is leading your university.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
VK Jain is your
Bhopal.
vice chancellor, I can say.
Bhopal University. And sir, if these are the first time we are temping in, if suppose we have some, so then definitely I will improve it.
That's why I'm.
At my level.
I had said 2 or 3 times with due all respect, because
Yes, sir.
you have completed your PhD. I have no right to ask anything.
No, sir. It's just learn process, and definitely we suppose because other co-authors also completed all these tasks, and presently
No, I
they are
haven't
busy
asked any
and they're
question
working.
from Dr. Manish
Yes, sir.
because
Yes, sir.
he is working in that particular leading organization, NVIDIA.
Yes,
And
sir.
we have used that particular tools in my training, we can say in 2017 in Bennett
Okay.
University.
Right, sir.
So I
That's good.
worked people from NVIDIA as well. So this is
Okay.
only respect we can say. Okay, thank you so much.
No, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Harsh.
Okay, thank you, Sachin sir. And now I would like to invite our next presenter is Shraddha. And her paper title is Learning-Based Framework for Resources Allocation for Verifying Varying Traffic. I think so. Shraddha is not here, sir. Okay, and moving forward, our next presenter is Sunita. And her paper title is Bank Management System Using Blockchain Technology. I think so. Sunita is not here. Sir, if you're allowed, then can we wait for 5 minutes for them? After that, we are going to closing remarks.
It's up to you, Harshji.
Okay, sir. I think we have to wait for 5
Because
minutes.
I think from 6 o'clock I have another meeting.
Yes, sir. Okay, not more than 5 minutes, sir.
Sorry, sir, for interrupt to you. Sunil, sir, can I got your contact number?
Sir, you can write Sunil Kumar Jangid on Google. You
Yes,
will
sir.
see my profile as well. And my contact number there, Google Scholar as well. Everything is mentioned.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sir, presently, where are you?
Currently working in Chandigarh University as associate professor.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Oh, thank you.
Again,
Sir,
I'm saying sorry if my words hurts you.
No, sir. No, sir. No, anything. Okay, sir. I will call and contact to you, sir, in future. Suppose.
Anytime, sir.
And okay. Thanks.
So I think we have Manish ji in this meeting. We can take his guidance as well. Manish, sir. Meanwhile, other people are joining. Can you please introduce yourself? Am I audible, Manish ji? Dr. Manish?
Yes.
I think I'm not getting your voice properly. Harsh, are you getting Manish sir's voice?
No, sir.
He is unmuted as well.
Yes, sir. I think he has an audio problem.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
Manish
yes.
ji.
Yeah, hi Sunil.
Hi, Manish ji. We want to listen from your side that what is your background, how you work here, NVIDIA, and what is your experience?
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Thank you. So first of all, I was a little bit unclear that my talk is not understandable or fully understandable. I mean, no question means how
Sir,
to take it.
you people, the topic on which you people are working, I think we have to take next 2-3 years to come around your topics.
No, not in that way, sir. Not in that way. So, okay.
Because you people are the, we can say, infrastructure provider, and we are generally using the Google Colab.
Yeah, we are providing the platform now. I mean, not only infrastructure, totally, fully solution. We are.
I saw one of your supercomputer in Bennett.
Oh, okay.
I visited Bennett 2-3 times in 2017 and 18. And the inclination of my research toward deep learning and machine learning, the main reason is NVIDIA and your supercomputer.
Wow, that's good to know. Good to know. That is helpful. Yes. So nowadays, even if we see GPUs are everywhere,
Yes.
NVIDIA GPUs are more popular than others, but GPUs are everywhere. That's right. That's right. And good to know about your Chandigarh University, what you are progressing well. Anywhere, if you feel somewhere we can collaborate, please let us know. I'm happy to. I am a researcher. You said to introduce myself, so I'm sharing this slide. I'm PhD from IIT Delhi, basically applied mathematics guy. I'm from Rajasthan. I did my MSc from there and then CSI and NET and joined PhD there.
From where in Rajasthan, sir?
Ajmer.
Okay.
Are you also from there?
Sir, my 12-year teaching experience was in Rajasthan.
I see.
I
Interesting.
worked for JCRC 10 years, Modi University for 2 years, now
Ah.
Chandigarh University.
I see. Okay, great. Good to know.
And
So many old
you
apps.
have mentioned 2007, you completed your PhD. I think in 2007, I was in my 3rd year or 2nd year, we can say, in BTech.
Ah, okay, okay. Good to know. Okay, okay. So one thing during PhD, I mean, I do not know how many are here, but the one thing I saw, I am from Rajasthan, so there first time I saw in IIT, the first thing computer, second English.
Oh yeah.
So
Two
even in
biggest hurdle.
two biggest, I mean, even people were surprised in IIT that one can have MSc in Hindi in Rajasthan. And I
Yes.
need to take the books from my hometown to IIT and to show them that, yes, these books exist in Hindi, you know. And
So you have completed your MSc from Mahर्षि Dayanand
Ajmer.
University?
Yes, MDS, Government College Ajmer. Yes, MDS
Okay.
University. Yes. And then that's what my learning curve, everything is at IIT. I learned how to work or whatever you say, it's a big exposure for
So
me. there.
MSc in mathematics
Yes, yes,
and MSc completed in, I think, near about 2003,
2000.
2000.
So my PhD submission was in 2006 beginning, and then I started working. The award goes, you know, it takes little bit time.
Yes, yes.
So that's how it is. So it took little time because I need to learn computer as well as English more, both. So, but those are the good year. I enjoyed those years. And then I am in the industry. After that, I was in UK for 3 years. So I worked for IBM for 10 years. During that, I was in UK for 3 years. There we saw Hindustan Unilever. I worked for them. So for their shampoo, they need many simulations, right? Every year, Hindustan Lever comes around, say, 100 new products. For
Yes.
each product, they do around 1,000 simulations. Say one shampoo coming, they do many simulations like what kind of physical property, bottle size, shape, what kind of color of the shampoo, how much foam it should be there, liquid, thin, and so on, and then chemical properties. So their scientists were having issues to submit job to quick turnaround on the supercomputers. So we made an app simulation over coffee. So on iPad, we gave them a framework how to submit the job on IBM Blue Gene high performance system. And you spend only 10-15 minutes and results will be there. So we used to say simulation over coffee. Then in my last assignment in IBM, I was the lead for IBM India for the weather company. So today I saw some talks were there on weather, right? And so if you go on Google and search any place weather, say Bangalore weather or Chandigarh weather, first result will come from weather.com.
Yes.
Or your iPhone default weather app is Weather Channel. So IBM acquired that company and I was the technical lead for that company. So I presented that company at various forums, agriculture, as well as aviation, as well as lightning and so on, in all the sectors. I did work with the Tomar sir. You might have heard Minister of Agriculture, right? Mr. Tomar.
Yes.
I did work with him, and Sanjay Agarwal is the principal secretary and so on. And then last 1 year, I am at NVIDIA. So I'm a principal solution architect working. Working on various domains like weather, molecular dynamics. I'm learning. Last 1 year only, I learned whatever I presented. It's a hardly 1 year journey in molecular dynamics domain. And now I am trying to get more grip in this domain. Yeah. So that is about me. Thanks for your interest, Sunil. I appreciate it.
No, sir, you are we can say the person from we can learn. Harsh?
Yes, sir.
Can you please save sir's number and invite him in our next conference as a session chair or guest?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Please ask Amit ji and Mehul ji that Sunil sir recommend Dr. Manish, not recommend because sir is senior from me. So please save sir's detail and send few invites in our future events.
Sure.
Thank you.
Manish sir, please share your number with us and email ID also.
Where to share, on chat box?
Yeah, sure.
I share. Okay. But
And
good
I'll
to
be
know,
in your
Sunil.
touch, sir.
Sure.
Manish sir, I'll be in your
Let me
touch.
know. Let me know. Yeah. No, I'm in more towards, I do my industry job, but I would like to wear my research hat more. So I spend more time in research as well. So yeah. And how is pandemic behaving?
I think till now we are safe.
We are safe. Yeah, that looks like now it's okay. We are sustaining, and
Yes.
now life becoming as usual. So yes.
No, but now we think that it's a part of our life. Wearing
Yes.
mask
Wearing
and
mask.
keeping distance, using sanitizers.
No, sir, ये बोलने का है. All these things are we are saying. If you go in real marriages or functions, that even not followed.
But if you have noticed it, my pic that I have weared mask
Yes, I saw that. I saw
because I'm not well from last 2 days.
Okay. Please take care. If you even have normal khasi, that is more problem than actual disease.
Yes.
I travel from Pune to Bangalore today morning only. I was in Pune to meet Ministry of Earth Science and NCL, National Chemical Laboratory, and so on, and CDAC. So, but in flight, if someone by mistakenly has कोई खांसी आ गया, कुछ कफ आ गया, तो बस सभी लोग ऐसे देखते हैं, बस गया ये बंदा. So that's what I'm saying. Your खांसी is more dangerous than actual disease.
Yes.
So
No one is worried about actual disease.
yeah, no one is worried. वो बस उतना होते ही काफी. एक खांसी आ गया फ्लाइट में, बस गया काम से. हो गया. So that's
Sunil sir, I think so. We have to move forward for our closing
Sure.
remarks.
Yes.
Sure.
You can continue
Okay.
your process.
Okay.
Thanks again, Sunil. And
Thank you
yeah,
so much, sir.
thank you.
After this chat, I'm going to ping you on your WhatsApp number. This is your
Sure.
WhatsApp number?
Yes, I have only one
Okay.
number, sir. ज़्यादा manage नहीं होता.
And if you visit in future, if you are going to visit Jaipur, please call me.
Oh, okay. Sure. I do come Jaipur frequently. Yeah. Sure. Harsh, up to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation and all the participants for being a part of this international conference. And all the participants will be getting their digital certificates and all the documents through email within 2 working days. I hope this session was informative enough. And all the papers have been already submitted to the Springer, and the publication will be live within 5 to 6 months. So kindly cooperate with the team SmartCom and the team ICTCS 2021. And once again, I want to thank our session chair for chairing the session. And so there is a token of appreciation from the Global Knowledge Research Foundation and the team ICTCS and SmartCom 2021.
Thank you so much, Harsh.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable presence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now I'd like to request all the participants for to turn on the camera for the quick
Yes, sir.
snapshot and making this session more memorable.
Okay. Hope I'm visible.
Sunil sir, you are not visible. Yes,
Now?
now yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, and thank all the participants.
1 second, I'm taking screenshot as well. 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Say cheese. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.